So hopefully people will have gone to the lowimpact.org blog and had a look at that article about planting trees and taking responsibility for rebuilding habitat and just growing trees rather than just spending money on frivolous acquisitions. Anyway, it's time to get on with another week, so let's see what's happening. Now then, viewers and friends, this is part 5 of home life in lockdown. If you remember last time, we were getting on with lots of stuff. This beautiful weather, I mean, it's a gift, isn't it? Well, those people who are having it, other parts of the world might not be so, but here on the east coast of the UK, it's been absolutely glorious. We had a really wet winter and now it's making up for it. So all the spring flowers are really showing their best, which is great. So what we've got this week is we've got some glass cutting, because I've got to cut the glass for the glass house door that is now complete and that's fitted, so we'll see the completion of that. We had a problem with the Countax mower. The charging system wasn't working and that was creating problems with the deck clutch, which is magnetic, so we fixed that. And then the last time I felled a dangerous tree, well, I've converted the butt end of that, just a few feet of it, into slabs for a specific reason. Did that with a chainsaw, so there's a bit about sort of timber and what have you. Hopefully there's other bits just thrown in amongst it all, so hopefully you enjoy this. Catch up with you soon. He's just hurt his arm.
Oh, his arm. What is that from nature reserving?
So I've allowed the glass out in this, left it out in the sun, so it's warmed up. And we'll need to cut it. So we've got 720 by 445, and that is, I don't believe that, that's 721. That's absolutely amazing. And we want 445, so that's about here. So I'm just going to give it an extra clean, just on the cut line. Any slight bit of muck will just make the wheel skip. That's good. And then we want it's 445, and we need to take off a couple of mil for the thickness of the cutter. So we want 443, something like that. That's 443. And that's just a bit too much. Come back a little bit. Bit more still. Okay, that'll do. Lubricate the the wheel. There we go. Ready? That's a nice sharp cutter. It's a nice even but not a grating sound. So flip her over. And I always tap the back. There we go. Perfect. And I'll always just run a bit of old sander belt over that cut edge, because it can be mighty sharp. And there we go, job done. I'll do another one and then we can put the door in place because it's finished, and glaze her up. And there's bluebells and a white bell and dandelions and forget-me-nots. Isn't that nice? So there we go, glazed and finished. It looks a lot neater than the old one. Now, I could use posi screws, but I don't think that'd look right. It's not in the spirit of things. So, thank you, Uncle Harold. These black japanned round heads came from Uncle Harold's workshop. They might be a little bit long, but a pilot hole does it. And where should we set the screws? Horizontal or vertical? I think vertical. So there we go, the original furniture, Suffolk latch furniture, and the original sign. There you go. Yeah, that is 60 years old if it's a day. It's not some little plastic sticker that lasts 5 years and then is thrown away. Yeah. Quality, isn't it? Up to a standard, not down to a price. It just occurred to me that I have a whole box of glass cutters that I just picked up over the years, and you can tell whether the wheel's any good from the sound and the width of the... See, that sounds like a really smooth cut, and that's even better But this one, it's a louder sound, and you can hear that notching. So actually this one is probably the best, and the spare wheels are in there. How it actually works, I'm going to have to experiment, but interesting. So we'll just turn this over. There we go. Okay, hopefully that sort of clears that up. If you get the wrong sound with the cutter, i.e. this sound, which is louder and a bit notchy, then unscrew this, turn this round for the next wheel. They don't last forever. If you have lawns and grassland and what have you, then obviously at some point you need to do some maintenance to it. I mean, you could let it go wild and it's a natural habitat, but the bits around the house and in the orchard and whatnot, they need attention, and so therefore you've got to have a mower. And you know, the bigger the area, the bigger the mower you need to be able to get it done in an efficient way. And yes, you're using petrol, which goes against the grain. Electric mowers are either very small or exceedingly expensive. So it's a sort of juggling act there. Anyway, this particular mower, the deck, the cutting deck, is controlled by an electromagnetic clutch. Flick a switch and the deck starts spinning, or the rotor starts spinning. Anyway, the last I fired it up, I don't know, about a month ago. I'd had the deck off over winter and then cleaned it all down, and I'd painted it and greased the bearings, etc, etc. So I knew everything was fine, and it seemed to be fine. And then the deck electromagnetic clutch started dropping out. It'd run for about a minute, and then it'd drop out, and then you'd start it again, and this and that and the other. And that's a pain in the neck. Totally. You're forever sort of paying attention to that rather than paying attention to the rest of the things you're doing. So I thought, oh, here we go, here's an expensive do. But then, when it was running, I put a multimeter set on DC volts across the battery, and it was showing 12.4, which obviously means that the thing's not charging. And I thought, oh right, okay, yes, 6 of one and a half dozen of the other. So let's fix the charging system first, so that at least we can keep the battery in good condition, and hopefully the electromagnetic clutch will start working properly then. So I looked on YouTube, and I looked at dog bite 555, and I like to reference where I've done my research. I know some other YouTubers tend to feel that, oh, I can't do that because it'll send my viewers to other channels and they might not come back. Well, if your content's good, then of course they'll come back. And it's about sort of exchange of information, isn't it? So some people are incredibly short-sighted, seemingly, in that aspect. Anyway, so I had a look at what Dogbite 555 was saying, and I thought, you know, it just explains a few basic issues, and you're away. So let's have a look. I'm having to do this in the workshop because it's quite breezy outside. So first thing is, this is the regulator. The red wire is the positive out, and the two yellow wires are the wires from the alternator. So the first check that I was told to do was to check whether you'd got positive in that connection when the ignition switch is switched on. So we switch the ignition on, the meter's on DC volts up to 20 volts, so that's going to be positive, so we're going to go from there to an earth somewhere. Hopefully you can see this. Let's go to the negative of the battery, and it's showing nothing. There is no live there. Okay, so right, the next thing to do is have a look at this fuse box here. So I'm going to go from this to parts of the fuse box to see which is which. Okay, they're all 10 amp fuses, and I'm going to go on continuity. Okay, so let's just, no, right, so that end one is the power. Okay, now then, are we getting 12 volts? So obviously the bottom part of the fuse holder is the live supply. So let's go between, that's 12, that's 12, that's nothing there. Okay, well, that's interesting. So there's no power to that. That could be an internal fuse. Right. So let's have a look at the fuses. Now I'm looking down here, looking sideways, and I can see that they're all intact. There's nothing wrong with them, but I think I'd better check them on continuity. So we'll just put, now where are you going to see this? Can we see this there? So we're on continuity again. Okay, so, and they're all visually right. That one's good. That one's not. That one is. So that one, even though it looks right, has got a fault in it. Maybe that's the problem. So that's a good one. Is that still a good one? That one there? Yeah. So that one there wants to go in the bin because it's misleading. Okay. So I think what we need to do now is connect the alternator back up, or the rectifier back up, or the regulator, the charge controller, stick this on DC volts, start her up, hopefully it'll start. So hopefully you saw that, 14 volts. So now we've got, well, 1.7 volts more. So hopefully we won't have a problem with that electromagnetic clutch. And it was down to a fuse that was lying to me. Well, there you go. Such things are sent to triers. I was just thinking there about the battery volts, and I was saying that when I put the electromagnetic clutch in, it would be fine for a short while, and then it would drop out. Well, obviously, because the mower's not charging, then as soon as you put the clutch electrical load across the battery, it's pulling the voltage down in the battery even further. So maybe it's sustaining it for a minute, and then the voltage drops, and it could have dropped to something like, maybe, I don't know, 10 volts, something like that, and therefore it's dropping out. So, you know, okay, we were saying that it was just over 12 volts, but actually under load it'd be a lot less. So with this now, this alternator and the charging system working properly, then I've every faith that this clutch will work properly again, which is a relief. There we go. We want a 10 amp. That's a 15. There's a 10. I'll just test that. That's the same 10. I'll just test it to make sure, and then that's that third fuse put in there. And just a bit more firewood, steady away with it, little bit every day, and by the end of May, or even hopefully this year, because it's been so dry, the end of this month, which is April, will all be done and ready. Now then, it's another day, and I've been tidying up all the brash from that tree that I felled in the last video, the one with the broken top. And when I get to it's pretty breezy today, but hopefully we'll not get too much breeze in the camera. But the butt end's quite big, and I just thought, do you know what? That looks like stool tops to me. Some of you have seen the stools that I make, three-legged stools, so we can cut a few boards out of that, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but if it does, it does. And just another interesting thing, across the other side of the meadow, look at that, that's an apple tree. I had a load of apples donkeys years ago, and I was going to make cider and didn't, and then they start to go off, so I put them in a compost heap, and some of the pips sprouted and I grew them on, and that one is quite a nice apple really. It keeps well, yeah, and it just, anybody who knows about matured apples, ones that have been kept the other side of Christmas, they're not like supermarket apples. They've got real taste and texture, not just loads of juice and crispiness and nothing much else. Anyway, I thought we would have a go at this, and I'll just mark it out and we'll slab it up with the chainsaw and go as far as we can see. There's quite a taper on the butt, so it might not be big enough, but it might be. We can get something out of it. So let's see what happens. So where's the heart? There's the heart. So we want to cut either side of that. What do we want? 2 inches? 2-inch slab, probably. Where's the keys? There's the tape instead. Just roughly mark it out. Now mark that out with the saw. There it is. It's not my favourite colour, this chalk. Right, that'll do. So we actually want to be over there a bit. Go as far as you can see. There we go. That's not very good. That's pretty good. There we go. That's pretty nice actually. This other one will be fine. That can be the underside. And because the thing to do now, without messing around or hanging about or all that sort of thing, get it back to the workshop, paint the ends, any old paint that you can find, just to seal that cut end. That way the moisture doesn't sap away from that end, and the end fibres shrink and it'll split then. Okay, let's crack on. So here we go. And there you are, Steve. That's the rest of the paint. Steve Upton was saying on one of the other videos about the wheelbarrows, about the fact that I didn't paint the bits that didn't need painting. Well, it's worked out. So if you want to learn more about using timber, especially local timber, and processing it and drying it, even making your own timber drying kiln, which isn't difficult, do me a favour, buy the book, Timber for Building. I'll put an image of it up now. So this wants to be stacked with gaps between it, so no surface wants to be in a position where air can't get past it. So if you stack them level with battens between, you need to put battens on the top one and another piece of board on there, so that both surfaces have got a sort of a similar climate. Yeah? If you just leave the top one open, then it will dry more on the top. Hopefully that makes sense. We used to do this all the time with poplar and stuff like that. We bring the boards back, stack them out, paint the ends, put some boards on the top, and then loads of concrete weights and old tyres and stuff like that, and leave it out in the yard here. Especially if it was like February, by, whoa, I don't know, early May, it was down to 20%, 25%, and then it could go in the kiln and wouldn't take long to dry. And then it'd be down to what I would call joinery in-house, in a centrally heated house, at about sort of 8%, maybe 10 at the most. So that's that.